Okay, so here's just a quick video. I wasn't originally planning on making one like this, but after seeing a bunch of different posts on Facebook on some of the different chicken groups I follow, I felt inspired to put some of my thoughts out there, because if you follow a lot of these different chicken pages on Facebook, you've probably been seeing so many people this year wondering why their baby chicks that they've been buying have been dropping dead like flies. Now, chicks are very fragile animals, and they're hatched and sold in very large numbers, especially if they're coming from like a big hatchery and not someone local. So naturally, in any large amount of any kind of population, there's going to be casualties. That's just how it goes. There's no way for every single living thing to be born healthy and thriving and make it to adulthood. So when you're dealing with large numbers, sometimes there will be casualties. But it has been an alarming amount of posts where people are saying that like they got 12 chicks and all of them died after a couple days, or half of them died. And that's just really not the norm. I gave my chickens a snack over there. That's why they're all crowding that area. But anyways, back on topic. So I'm not going to name any names, but you probably know who I'm referring to. There have been quite a few chain farm stores that have been the main pinpoint of these complaints. And while I can't say for sure, because as far as I've heard, there haven't been any animal autopsies done to say what's going on with these chicks, and I don't think there's been any like investigation into this, so I can't say for sure, but I'm just going to share a couple different theories or some reasoning behind what could be going on with these chicks and some tips that might help these new owners to have a better survival rate. So the first thing I'll start with is, like I just said, new owners. A lot of people are panic buying chicks right now because they're worried about the egg supply at the grocery store because of the bird flu. I've said this in other videos, it's never a good idea to impulse buy a living creature without doing your research first and taking your time to make sure you're fully educated and prepared before bringing this living creature into your home. So unfortunately, some of these casualties may be due to a lack of education, where people are bringing in these fragile baby birds and not knowing how to properly care for them. Or maybe they're even being told false information by an employee. Oh my gosh, he's trying to take my bracelet. For example, now this happened years ago, and again, I'm not going to name the specific name of the place, but it's a popular feed store that everyone talks about. And a neighbor of mine got ducklings from there, and the feed store employee told her to feed them a certain type of food. And she gave her the bag, sent her home with it. Well, one by one, all of the ducklings were dying until there was one left. And my neighbor mentioned this to me, and I was like, well, let me come over and take a look. And the second I got there, the first thing I said was, what are you feeding them? Because the brooder looked like it was set up correctly. So she showed me the bag of feed, and she was like, this is what the person working at the store gave to me and told me to feed to them. And that instantly gave me my answer. The employee had wrongfully recommended that they feed grit to the ducklings and not actual feed. If you're not familiar with grit, it's basically little stones that poultry need to help digest their food, but it's not an actual feed source itself. So since there was no nutritional value at all, the ducklings were starving to death. And luckily, we got that corrected in time. As soon as she showed me this, I went to the feed store with her actually and helped her pick out the correct food. And her last duckling did survive. She got it some friends. And, you know, she had to learn a hard lesson that you can't always trust an employee. A lot of times it's kids working at these stores. So do your own research. Don't only rely on what the feed store employees are telling you. I'm not going to go too much into chick care in this video because I already have other videos on my channel where I talk about that. So if you want to learn how to properly and safely raise your chicks, check out the link to my video in the description below. That's my most popular one where I talk about raising chicks. And then you can make sure that you're going to bring them home and do it properly. So aside from issues with first-timers maybe just making mistakes, another theory of mine is the fact that it's winter. It is very cold right now, and a lot of big hatcheries are still shipping chicks. And while you can ship chicks in insulated boxes with heat packs and electrolytes, and most of the year you can do it safely, there is more of that risk in the winter, especially when there's winter storms and bad weather coming through, which can delay the trucks and delay the shipping. Now, most places will do the right thing, and if there's going to be really bad weather, they may cancel a shipment and not even send them out in the post office. But unfortunately, sometimes pop-up weather events happen that were unexpected, and then there's delays. And of course, there's also the factor of human error when it comes to shipping and, you know, missing boxes. So if there's very cold weather, the cold weather isn't going to help the chicks, and the delays definitely aren't going to help the chicks. Freshly hatched chicks need to be kept at around 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and they need to be kept somewhere clean, dry, draft-free. So a lot of them could be dropping due to really bad shipping conditions, bad weather. And then again, I can't say that this is a fact for all places because I know different places have different policies, but I have seen and heard firsthand, so I know it's true, that many of these big places, especially this year because customers have such high demand and people are freaking out and being really aggressive trying to buy their chicks, that the second these chicks arrive from the post office, employees are taking them right out of the box that they were shipped in and boxing them up for customers who are then going to take them home. This is a huge problem, and it actually is kind of alarming to me that more people don't realize this, because to me this is common sense. Think about what these chicks have been through. They're very young, they're fragile, and they often get shipped shortly after hatching, so they can go a day or two without feed because they still have their yolk supply. But by the time they arrive at the feed store, they need their food and they need their water. And plus, by then their heat pack is wearing off, so they're going to need to be warmed up too. So by instantly selling them to customers, they are missing out on more time where they should be recovering from shipping. I actually manage a small feed store, and when I took over, I put in my own policy where I refused to sell chicks. I didn't care how much of a fit the customer threw. No offense to the customers, but I was going to put the animal's welfare first. The customer could wait. When it comes to the survival of the chick, I was going to do what was best. So I would get them from the post office and I would get them back to my store, and first thing I would do, I would look them over, make sure they all looked good. I would get them in the brooder and I would warm them up. Once they were sufficiently warmed up, I would give them water, and I would put probiotics and electrolytes in the water, and then I would also put in another water source of just plain fresh water, so that way they had both options. Once they were hydrated properly, I would offer them their feed, and then we would give them a couple hours to just, warm up, relax, decompress from the stress of shipping, get some food in their bellies, and have a nice strong start. And really, this is in the best interest of the customer too, because they were then getting chicks that were healthier and stronger, and we have an extremely low death rate. Now obviously you are going to get the occasional one that was born weak or sick or flat out just doesn't make it. Once in a while that happens, but I will say it has been extremely rare at my store. And I really believe it's because we're giving them that period of time to recover and be strong before we send them home with the customers. When you're taking these chicks that have been shipped all around for the past night or two, and in a box it's being handled by so many people, and then instantly just thrown into another box, because the feed store boxes don't have heat in them. They're going to be cold in there, and then having to drive home with the customer, and who knows how far some of these customers live. That's a lot on their little systems. So I think that we need to start demanding better welfare practices from these big chain feed stores where, put the chick's interest first. I don't care if it's just a cheap little $3 chick, it's still a living creature and it matters. If they were taking better care of their chicks and making it a policy that they're not going to sell them until they can ensure that they've all been fed and hydrated and warmed up, then I think it's going to overall just be a win for everyone, because it'll be less customers losing chicks, and, obviously that's a win for the chick because they'll have a better chance of survival. Now, how can we make this change? Well, first of all, please don't be one of those demanding customers where you're going to be screaming at the employees and camping out in their store before chicks even arrive and, throwing a fit if you can't get them right when you want them. You got to be reasonable, and you got to be patient. And you can even start offering this to management or writing letters to the owners, giving the suggestions. And I think if enough people speak up, they might start putting better policies into place. Now, if you're not going to a feed store and you're going to buy from a hatchery, I recommend ordering at a time of year when it's not quite so cold. Another tip is, for a lot of people that aren't familiar with birds, they have extremely fragile respiratory systems, and when you have baby chicks, you're going to be raising them in your house for the first several weeks. So you can't really be doing things like burning candles or spraying Febreze or cooking with Teflon pans or basically doing anything with artificial fragrances that could interfere with their fragile little lungs. A lot of people don't know about this. So that could be another potential reason why a lot of people are saying their chicks are dropping dead this year. And make sure you're going to be ordering from a breeder or a hatchery that has a good reputation. Read the reviews. Now, obviously, illnesses have always existed. They're always going to exist. But read the reviews of these places and make sure that they have a good record for having healthy and clean flocks. Or if you're buying from the feed store, make sure that they have clean brooders, clean water, clean food, that they're being cared for properly. You don't want to support someone that's neglecting animals. And you don't want to be bringing home sick birds either. Look out for scammers. There's a lot of scammers right now, unfortunately. So, like I said, check reviews, make sure people are reputable before you give them your money. And then it's not a bad idea to bring home some electrolytes and vitamins. This is a 2-in-1. And even the Save a Chick brand has a probiotic one too. Bring those home, use them for the first week or two. And like I said earlier, supply a fresh, plain source of water as well. So that way they have that little extra layer of protection if they need it. And if you get the probiotic one, which also comes in a 3-pack, I just grabbed this one for the video. But if you get the probiotic one, keep in mind that gut health is linked to overall body health. So it is very important for the immune system to have a healthy gut. And make sure you're practicing good biosecurity measures as well. I have a video where I go over this that I recently made. It's my video about bird flu basics for backyard chicken owners. Check that out if you want to learn more about biosecurity methods. And to close out, I just want to reiterate that these are just my own personal theories. I can't say for sure. I don't know why. I don't have full proof as to why all these chicks are dropping dead. But these were just some of the first things that came to mind for me. So I figured I'd mention them to you guys, and hopefully it'll help somebody out. If I continue to learn anything new about this, I will definitely share it with you guys. And in the meantime, I will also be providing plenty more chicken videos, educational ones that I try to make nice and simple for new owners to understand. So make sure you check out the other videos on my channel and subscribe, because I'm very busy, especially this time of year coming up. But I'm going to be trying to put out more videos than usual to try to keep up with the demand of all the new chicken owners, so I can try to help people out. There's more than one right way of doing things, so feel free to explore other chicken keepers too and see what they do. Maybe their methods might work better for you. But what it boils down to is don't panic buy, don't impulse buy. Do your research first before bringing a living creature into your house, and then you should have a better success rate. Good luck.